Good morning.
Typical situation around here when these dogs are here.
It is.
Today is October the 13th or 14th.
14th,
I think it's 14.
Graham and Poppy are dog sitting for Twana, who's in New York City. The dogs' names are Gracie and Daisy.
This is Daisy.
And that's our mutt in there named Wilson to some and TT to me. Just raising all kinds of havoc.
Why do you call her TT?
Because she TTs everywhere.
That's why she's in the cage.
That's why she's in the kennel. Well, this is an interview with R.V. Childers and his wife Norma Childers. And we're going to try to practice a video here where we can pass it down to and share it with those that may be the offsprings of grandkids today.
Yep.
So, Dad, what is your full name?
Well, my full name is R.V. R.V. Childers.
How many times have you answered that question?
Oh, my
Wrongly,
God.
bonely. R only, B only.
Yeah, R only, V only.
Why did
You mean you don't have a name? No, that's it. That's it.
Mom, what's your full name?
Norma Lee Childers.
And you're Folks.
Yes, I was a Fox.
Did you have a nickname?
I had a couple of nicknames.
She had a nickname.
Stormy, I'll admit it. Stormy.
Was it fitting? Is it still?
Yes, it was fitting.
So I lived in a unique situation and sometimes I had to be Stormy.
She had to let off steam, in other words.
Dad, did you have a nickname?
No.
Everybody was just trying to figure out what your real name
I
was.
tried
True.
to put names with with that RV, and I tried Robert Van, but it didn't stick. It just wouldn't stick. People always went back to RV.
When were you born and where?
I was born in was it Dorena?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dorena, Missouri.
You know that.
Well, in May 15th, 1936. And during the 37 flood, we moved from Missouri to Hickman to get out of water. When the water went down, we went down to the Sassers Ridge area.
Which is near Hickman.
Hickman had hills and they had to climb a hill and get out of the water. And
Yeah.
Dorena was flat
Yeah, that was all water,
on the other side of the river.
the other side of the river. And they started farming in that area, Sassers Ridge area, and that's where we grew up.
Who did he farm for when he first got there? Do you remember?
Claude Middleton.
You ever see or hear from him or that
At
family?
that time, whenever I was a kid, I did. But of course, they done passed on, you know.
But you saw him one day at the doctor's office, didn't you? Years later.
No, that was his son-in-law I saw at the
Oh,
doctor's
okay.
office. Dad rented land from Claude Middleton. And with all us kids, I look back on it and I don't know what we would have done if we hadn't been raised on the farm and with the cotton and the corn and the livestock. Mary and I, as far back as I can remember when we were there, we done all of the taking care of the livestock. We milked the cows, and of course I'd feed the hogs and the horses and whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, Mary was a big help on the farm. That's why, one of the reasons her back's in the shape it's in today. She could pick more cotton than any of the other girls in the family. Of course, messed her back up.
You've got to carry that cotton sack to the scales.
Well, Mom, where were you born and when?
I was born near Clayton, about 10 miles from Union City, on June 25th, 1939. I've been told it was the hottest day of the year.
Stormy?
Back in, there was a little house back behind Uncle's nanny's, and Daddy, I think, had built it. I'm pretty sure he had. And it was 2 rooms, nothing in there except living room, bedroom, and a kitchen area. And that's where I was born, out behind their house. That's on a ridge back there, very much like this one we live on now.
And then that's just a couple of miles from here, and
It's probably about 5 miles from here.
how did y'all come to live there?
Well, Thelma, my sister, we were living in Union City on South 2nd Street with our mother and our daddy. And our mother decided she wanted to do other things. And we, for the first 2 years after they separated, we floated. We would live just here, yonder, and everywhere the first year. And she lived with Auntie and Uncle and went to school 1st grade. And I was with mainly my granddaddy and grandmother on the Falk side, but also Miss Fitzpatrick, Molly Fitzpatrick, my other grandmother, and other aunts and uncles. And then the next year, the court decided that we would live with Mother a month and Daddy a month. And we would switch residences the first day of every month. So usually it was our Uncle R.L. who would come and get us and take us with our little metal suitcase about like this, with our clothes for the month at the other place. And that's how my 1st grade in school, that's what I was doing. And we weren't allowed to carry any toys. We didn't have many toys, but we weren't allowed to carry any dolls or toys or anything from one place to the other. I don't know why. And we weren't allowed to see or speak to the other parent that month. If we were with our daddy, we didn't say anything to our mother. If we were with our mother, we didn't say anything to our daddy. And I can remember still in my mind at the courthouse, we were walking from Mother's to Westover School. That's where we went to school. And when we were with Daddy, it was close. But that particular day, we were with Mother, I guess, because we were at the courthouse coming across. And we met our daddy carrying a roll of linoleum rug. And he was coming from his house to a furniture store that was across the street from the courthouse. And we smiled at him, but we didn't even wave, I don't think. We couldn't say anything to him. I don't know who made that rule, but that's the way it was.
And y'all were 6 and 5 or something like that.
We were, I think I started to school when I was 5. I never really thought about it much, but I graduated when I was 17, so I believe I was 5 and Thelma was 7. Yeah.
So how did you end up living with Amy and Uncle?
Well, Mother and Daddy fought in court over us for 2 years, and they couldn't decide. So finally, Daddy made an arrangement with Uncle and Amy that we would live with them and go to school there, and that's the way it was the rest of our school years.
In Dixie?
We went to Dixie School from then on.
So, Dad, how many brothers and sisters did you have in the Sassafras Ridge area?
Well, there was 4 of us boys and 6 living sisters. One, we lost one at 6 months. Little girl at 6 months.
Joyce.
Joyce. Her name was Joyce. So it was 10 of us. And
Was that normal?
pretty much, it was large families. Most, maybe not as large. But I remember we lived, the cooks were neighbors of ours. I think there was 11 or 12 of them boys and girls. And there was usually a boy in that family for every girl in our family, age-wise. And I think eventually they would go on a date together, you know. And Ernest, of course, you know, Ernest wound up marrying Wilma, our oldest sister, and
Was he the oldest in the Cook family?
no,
No.
Ernest was about the 4th one down
Well, Wilma was the oldest of the children.
of the girls. No, she wasn't the
Oldest.
oldest of the,
Wilma was the oldest one in the family.
no,
Who
in
was?
our family.
Yeah, in your family.
But there was also a Wilma in the Cook
Oh,
family.
well, I'm talking about your Wilma.
Yeah, Ernest was about the, I think, 4th one down.
Did y'all all go to the same school?
Yeah, same church.
So y'all could practically fill up the classroom.
Oh, yeah, yeah. We were missed when we didn't go to church.
Yeah.
Couple
Couple
of pews.
pews.
Couple of pews were empty.
So what was your house like?
There wasn't any houses that was outstanding then. It was just farmhouses. They were just farmhouses.
Well, I'm trying to get a perspective to today. Today, if you've got 2 kids, everybody's got, you know, their own bathrooms and their own bedrooms.
No, we had to take turns
How
getting.
many go?
We had to take turns on Saturdays getting in the tub to take a bath.
Wait, let me see.
So Dad, tell us how 10 kids and 2 adults grew up on Sassafras Ridge. You know, tell us about the house and bedrooms and bathrooms. That sounds like that might be interesting.
Well, there was a difference between renters and sharecroppers as far as what they lived in. Not necessarily the way they lived.
Y'all were renters.
We were renters. Dad rented land. And usually renters had a little bit bigger house than sharecroppers. You had a section maybe of 200 or 300 acres that this renter was renting, and he may have 3 or 4 houses for his sharecroppers living in those 3 or 4 houses. And but now, as far as our house, the best I can remember, it was a 2-bedroom, big kitchen, big living room. I think we had a couple of couches that made beds. And of course, with that many kids, didn't one kid get one bed? It was one bed for 4 kids. This type thing.
Two at the head and two at the bottom?
Or, you know, if you couldn't sleep rest to breast, yeah, I remember lots of times having toes in my mouth, you know, waking up. Somebody be trying to get their toes in my mouth or nose or something, you know. And of course,
Deliberately?
yeah, Charles was always that. Anyway.
I can see that.
But us boys usually slept together. And when there's usually me and Charles slept together most of the time. And of course, the twins was Donnie and Johnny. They were that much smaller that they slept together. But yeah, it was. But you know, you didn't really pay that much attention to it.
Because everybody was there.
Everybody did it, you know.
Normal. Well, what about showers? Y'all take a shower or take a bath or share the bath water or what?
We got a bath when Mama felt like we needed one, and she'd bring the tub in the house and heat water, and we'd get in that tub.
Would all of you take a bath with the same water?
No, we didn't do that. She changed water, but that's the way we took baths.
That was an all-day event, wasn't it?
Pretty much on Saturdays. That's when we got our big bath.
On Saturdays only.
And we'd take, you know.
Unless there was an event that you got real dirty or
Yeah.
farming or whatever.
Right. And we'd take hand baths, you know, just.
It was no different farming, was it? You didn't take a bath at night when you farmed?
No. Hand baths. You wipe, you know, you make sure your hands and your face was clean, but.
That's it.
Yeah, it was an interesting.
Did y'all have electricity?
Yeah,
TV?
yeah.
As long as you could remember back.
No. Whenever I first remember TV, we had a blacksmith that lived at Satchers Ridge. He was a blacksmith.
You remember his name?
Knox Rogers. And he would invite me up there on Saturday evening to watch boxing, championship boxing. They'd come on every Saturday night. And I was always invited up there, and he'd have popcorn and Coke for me.
That was a big treat.
Oh, that was. I look forward to that every Saturday. But I do remember one occasion on that deal, going home one Saturday night.
Walking home?
Walking home. It was a mile, 1 mile from Satchers Ridge to where we lived. And there was a person or a couple lived in this one house that had this German Shepherd dog. And this one particular night, they forgot to chain it up. And the dog got after me, and I remember I ran and hid in the ditch. It was a big ditch, and I hid in that ditch. And I just stayed there until I couldn't hear the dog barking anymore or anything like that, and I got up and took off to the house, but I sure was scared. It was a big German Shepherd.
Did y'all have indoor plumbing?
No. We had, we did in the kitchen. We had a pump in the kitchen. It was went in from the outside.
And that was really something to have.
Telephone?
No telephone.
iPad?
Are you kidding?
What was that?
Computer? Y'all have radio, I guess.
Oh yeah, we had a radio.
Y'all, like some old pictures, y'all had 10 kids all around the radio.
We'd listen to Grand Ole Opry a lot on Saturday night. Like they got more Grand Ole Opry than I did. I was watching boxing at Knox Rogers.
Well, Mom, tell us about your house, and I guess you ended up with Auntie and Uncle.
Well, let me go back to the little house in Union City, because we had been, Mother and Daddy lived in a tent when Thelma was born. Out there on that ridge where he later built a house. they had, it was solid wood up so high, and then a tent from there up.
It was on Uncle's place, wasn't it?
It was where I was born, it was in the same area, same ridge. Well, September was coming and Thelma was due, so they moved up to Amy's and Uncle's house to be out of the tent and were, you know, a little better situation. And, Uncle brought home some mutton.
Somewhat?
Mutton, and that's sheep, cooked sheep. And
That's
Mother,
sheep, yeah, that's
Mother
sheep.
had eaten some of that mutton, and she thought she was sick on mutton. And she kept going in and out the window there to the back porch. It was a 2-bedroom house there where Amy and Uncle lived, and we later lived. But Mother kept going in and out the window that went out onto the screen in the back porch, because she thought she was sick on mutton. And they laughed about that the rest of the time, because it was Thelma that she was sick about. She was getting ready to give birth. But Mother and them lived back there in that tent for, I think, about a year. And then Daddy built that 2-bedroom house, which was really nice compared to a tent. And they lived there, and I don't know when they moved to town, but I know I was pretty young, so I think probably less than 2 years old when they moved to town. And they rented for a while, and then Daddy bought this 2-bedroom house on South 2nd Street, and it was pretty nice. I don't remember if it had a bathroom or not, but probably did.
Indoor plumbing probably.
Yeah, and electric.
Telephone, maybe.
Yeah.
It was what they call those telephone lines then,
Party lines.
party lines.
So
But
you would pick up the phone and tell an operator who you wanted to call?
Yeah,
And
she-
you would listen at the telephone, for the rings.
It'd be 2 rings in a short, or 3 rings in a short, or, you know, something like that, that
You
you
know
would know it
pattern.
was yours.
The pattern would be your ring.
Yeah. And you had to pick up the telephone and listen to make sure nobody was on there, because it was a party line, you shared that line.
People could share
Right.
and could listen in on conversation.
And
Yeah.
did, and
Yeah.
did.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody in the world knew everything you said. But,
If they were interested and
yeah,
nosy.
and they were, because there wasn't anything else going on, so they listened.
Nothing else to do.
Yeah. But anyway, we lived there, and I was 4 when they separated, and that's when they sold the house, and we later went out to live with Amy and Uncle in that house. And it was a pretty nice house. It had just 2 bedrooms, and it had a place for a bathroom whenever they could put one in later. When it was built, they had left a place for a bathroom. But at that time, we had an outdoor bathroom, outdoor facility. And we took a bath once a week. And I can remember so well, Thelma and I, we were getting our bath. And Sonny Griffith knocked on the door, and of course that time people just came in. Well, I don't remember whether it was Thelma dropped the soap or what, but anyway, we all went running, and one of us stepped on that soap and went sliding across the room,
Feet went in there.
trying to get out of the way because Sonny was coming in the house.
How old were you then?
Probably about 12, 13 years old.
That's
Because later on, Uncle did put in a tub and a commode and sink, and we had indoor.
Was it just you and Amy and Uncle and Thelma and
No, Larry, her nephew, was there. His mother had died when he was 6 months old, and he had lived with his grandparents, Amy's mother and daddy, and then her mother died. So he came out there and stayed too. So they
But
went for
was
another-
he there when y'all came, or was that
About
later?
the same time. It was about the same time.
So there were 3 kids in the
Yeah,
house.
all of a sudden they had 3 kids. They went from no kids to 3 kids.
And was Amy able to have children, or,
Well, she never did have any, so, you know, we don't know.
but she had 3.
But she got 3, yeah.
Did she treat y'all like she was yours?
Well, she showed a little favoritism with Larry because he was her blood, and but it was okay, I guess, most of the time. That's probably when I got my nickname Stormy, because every now and then, things had to be squared away. I can remember making her count grapes one time because I always thought Larry got more of everything, and one day I made her count the grapes because I wanted the same amount he got.
And you and Larry were the same age too, right?
Yeah, he was about 6 weeks or 2 months. April 20, about 2 months older than me.
And Thelma was 2 years older than the two of y'all.
Yeah.
And all of you went to Dixie.
All of us went to Dixie, and Larry and I were in the same grade. And
So were there any special items in the house that you remember?
a lot of good food.
So Annie was a good cook.
She was a good cook, and she made a cake every day,
She was.
which is the last thing in the world we needed, especially Uncle. But she had some kind of dessert every day. And of course, he wouldn't want it to go to waste, so he'd eat it.
Well, how was the visitation? I mean, did your mother come see you? Did your daddy come see you on a regular basis, or?
No. Well, Daddy moved, as soon as we went to live with Aunt and Uncle, Daddy moved to Michigan. He was having lung problems, and the doctor wanted him to move to Arizona. But his wife at the time didn't want to go that far away from her family, so her family was in Michigan, so they turned and went to Michigan. They were already on their way to Arizona, and he turned and drove to Michigan.
So it was just every once in a while your dad would show up, and every once in a while your mom would show up.
Well, Mother lived in Union City, so we would see her more because it was closer. But I remember one time it was 17 months before we saw Daddy. But Mother lived on Perkins in Union City, and when we started taking music lessons, after music lessons, we would go to her house a lot, so we saw her more.
And her new family.
And her family. Mm-hmm.
So, Dad, were there any special items you remember in particular about Sassafras?
Well, it was a community then, compared to now. There's one house there now, I think, and my sister lives in it. Compared back then, probably 50, 60 houses. And a cotton gin. And a place where they sold tractors, implement place.
A restaurant.
It wasn't a restaurant, but they had a big, had a huge grocery store. And that's where, of course, we bought our groceries.
Kind of like they talk about in the song, Jimmy Dean talks about in the country store.
Yeah.
You kind of bought on credit and paid off in the fall.
You paid off when you sold your cotton.
Kind of felt like you.
So any and all the kids were able to go in there and get what they needed when they needed it?
No.
They didn't have signature authority.
No.
They had to have mom or dad with you.
Right.
Now, Daddy set it up for me and Thelma when we lived with him in Union City. He set it up at Paul Cloyce's grocery that we could go in there when we needed something and get it. And I guess that's because we had a young stepmother, and he wanted to make sure we had what we needed.
And this was in Clayton?
No, it was in Union City. That was when we lived with Daddy.
Okay.
And let me tell a little more about the house that Aunt and Uncle, when we went out there. They had a kitchen, a dining room, a sun parlor, 2 bedrooms, and a nice front porch. That was a pretty nice house for that day and age.
I remember that house.
And it had, between the sunroom and between the kitchen, the living room and the dining room, all of those rooms were connected with French doors. And you could open all that up and make one big area. Pretty nice
It was a
house.
nice house.
Just 2 bedrooms
But that's all Uncle and Annie needed at the time.
though. Yeah.
So if there were 2 bedrooms, 2 girls and 1 boy, what were y'all's sleeping arrangements?
Well, Thelma and I slept in one room together. And then for a while, Larry had a bed in the room with Annie and Uncle. And then later on, they put a bed in the dining area, over in the kind of the corner of the dining room for him.
So let's talk about chores a little bit. When do you remember having responsibilities that were yours to remember to do and all
Well,
that?
like I said a while ago, I was more or less in charge of the livestock.
What age do you
Making
remember
sure.
being, that was your job?
Oh, maybe when I was 7 or 8 years old. Started, and it ended at 16, 18. And, yeah, whenever we got up, Dad would go to he'd make sure the equipment was ready to go to the field that day. And Gary and I would take care of the cows, and of course I had other responsibilities, wood, making sure the house had wood in it for that night, firewood. It happened to be in the wintertime. And we had a wood cook stove, so we had to have wood year round. And that was one of my chores I was responsible for. But I was, being the oldest boy, I was responsible for more or less all the chores around the house.
Even though you were 7.
Yeah.
And then after you got things done, you would go to school and,
Well, it depended on what Daddy had lined up in the field that day.
He went to school when his daddy would let him go to school, really.
If it was a rainy day, couldn't get in the field, I'd go to school. If it was something he thought he needed me for in the field, then I'd go to the field.
He had to be very smart to have learned to read and write, and no more than him in school.
And lots of weeks I would go to school maybe once or twice a week.
so what about your sisters
They were more or less there every day.
at school?
Yeah.
Did they bring your lessons home to you, or?
No,
He just missed.
I was just behind.
He didn't have time. He was doing chores.
Very embarrassing. Then whenever I'd go back, it would be very embarrassing. I'll be so far behind lots of time.
I would imagine.
But I managed to get, not really what I needed, but I would say enough to get by, pretty much. But a lot of that I learned on my own.
Did y'all have motorized equipment, or?
Oh, yeah. But we started out, I remember starting out with mules, plowing with
So
mules.
you remember when the diesel engines changed the
Oh, yeah.
field and how
Yeah.
big you could
Yeah.
handle and?
Well, whenever I was on the farm, we never got any larger than a 4-row. 4-row was the largest we ever went to. And that was usually on a combine, not with a 4-row combine that would only do beans. 2-row with corn combine.
How old were you when you got your first tractor?
Well, we had the place we were renting, the guy we were renting from, which was Claude Milton. He was the one that owned the implement place. He sold Case tractors. So we always had Case tractors. And that's what I started out on full time. All day long on a Case tractor. No power steering, 8 years old. All day long.
That was better than a horse and a plow, though.
That was
wasn't it?
better than following a mule or a
And you were 8.
8 years old.
all day.
Wow.
And that brings me back to what Thelma says. I was so young when we went out there. I was 6 when we went out to live with Aunt and Uncle. But Thelma says as soon as we got out there, we had to start working in the fields. I don't remember the first time but we chopped cotton and picked cotton all day long from the time we were 6 years old.
What is chopping cotton?
You have to get the thin it, but sometimes when they planted it would be too thick. So you had to thin it and you had to get the weeds and the grass out of it.
You leave 1 to 2 stalks in a hill, but it would be a solid row of cotton. And you take your hoe and block it out. And then the rest of that summer, when you would hoe cotton and call it hoeing cotton, you would make sure there wasn't any weeds or grass growing around that cotton. And that was probably, how often would you chop cotton?
I don't know, we chopped every day in the summer.
Oh, but I'm talking about, how often would you chop this field before it was laid by? I'm saying
Probably
4 or 5 times
Really?
Per season?
per season. And then you get a break, school would start back.
In July. And we would go to school for about 6 weeks and then they were let out for cotton picking.
Cotton picking.
Everybody in the
So
school.
they scheduled the school around the times that crops
That's right.
needed care.
Right. And we would be out for
One
about
of the
6
reasons for
weeks.
that was, that's the way we all earned our clothes and books and pencils and whatever.
If we hadn't had the opportunity to work in the fields, I don't know what we would have done.
Oh, yeah.
I can remember Uncle taking us to the bank. I was 9, so Thelma would have been 11, and Larry would have been 9. And he asked the woman there at the bank, he said, they want to open a account. And she said, a savings account? And he said, no, checking. And of course, she was shocked. Three kids picking out, opening a checking account at 9 and 11. And we opened our checking account, and after we left, he said, now, y'all have your checking account, and you're making your own money. Don't ask me for any more money. So that is the way, and we had to make the money that we made chopping cotton and picking cotton last throughout the year. And I can remember Daddy sent us $200, $100 for our birthday and $100 for Christmas every year. And he was sending money to Aunt and Uncle to help, with our upkeep. But I can remember that we had to make that money last. And that's the way we all became managers. We became good at managing money. We had to. If you could buy a candy bar for a nickel and you could buy a candy bar for a dime, you bought the nickel one. Because that would leave you a nickel in the savings account, checking account.
So Dad, that's good. The fiscal responsibility today is definitely different than the
No,
fiscal
sure is.
responsibility.
No comparison.
So, Dad, what is your earliest childhood memory?
My earliest childhood memory, I got a whipping for not taking Dad some water, drinking water whenever he was plowing something, breaking ground or something. I must
Did you
not have known.
forget?
Huh?
What?
Apparently I was late taking it. I might have forgot it. I don't know what it was, but that was my earliest, first whipping I can ever remember getting. And my earliest remember of childhood. Got a whipping for being late, taking Daddy's drinking water.
Did that happen again?
No, that didn't happen that I know of.
What about you, Mom?
My earliest childhood memory, and I have no idea why this stuck with me, but we lived on a house on the corner in Union City. It must have been right after we left the country. But that house, the way I remember it, was octagonal. And I remember riding or trying to ride a tricycle on the front porch of that house, and I think I might have been 2 or under, maybe probably more like 1. But I remember that specific thing, I think because of the shape of the house.
It had a porch all the way around it.
Well, it had the front 2 octagonal things had a porch. And that later on that house burned, but I remember it was very unusual.
Let's talk about your siblings a little bit, the personalities in the house, any memories of Dad, you got 9 brothers and sisters. Let's start with you.
Well, by having, 3 sisters older than me,
Oh. Wilma, Joe married. Is just 3? Okay.
3
And then
sisters,
three sisters younger, so he had 6 sisters and him.
I don't ever remember having to do anything in the kitchen. Because
The girls are doing that.
girls took care of the kitchen, helping mama cook and wash dishes and clothes. But other than that, I had a good time. I could play with white boys or I could play with black boys. And we were living in an area where they were black and white, and we played a lot of basketball together, black and white.
Were Sundays kind of set aside for?
Sundays was, we didn't do anything on Sundays. That was a going to church day and a rest day.
And that was understood typically by all families in the neighborhood.
Right.
Everybody was ready for it because they
Yeah,
worked hard all
they
week.
really needed the rest on Sunday. That's pretty much
And
what-
for the most part, hardly any exceptions.
Right. Blacks and whites that were in church on Sunday.
Is that true for y'all as well, Mom?
Pretty much. Our situation was a little different. We weren't exposed to blacks very much. We lived out in the area where there were none. But everybody went to church on Sunday. And most everybody that we knew had some kind of a vehicle. Daddy always had a Hudson Paraplane when we were little. And you could hear it start. He worked at Reynolds Brothers Tire at the time. This was when we were living with him some. And you could hear it start whenever he cranked up. Coming home, you could hear it.
Same place Reynolds Brothers are.
It's
today.
today. And I remember going in there as a little kid, waiting on him. But some people, I can remember having everybody ate at my granddaddy's and grandmother's down at Clayton, and they lived in Uncle's house, and it was a little small house, and it had one royal blue board and then a white one. It was painted stripes. I've never seen a house like that before or since.
Now, how old were you at that time?
Well, I was 4 when I was living with him.
That's the kind of memory she's got.
But I can remember leaving there one day and going home with Martha Janice, a cousin of mine, and her daddy and mother were Jessica and Marcus. And we were in a wagon with steel wheels on gravel road, and I remember thinking, boy, I like that Hudson Airplane better. But we rode all the way from Grandpa's at Clayton